Today, and I'm BJA Arnett. I have a very special guest with me today who I just love talking to. And with this time that we're in, we've only been talking by Zoom for a while. Welcome, my guest, Monique Younger. Monique, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's so fun to see you face to face. You know, it's like I miss all my friends in fashion and in film. This is an interesting time.
Yes.
And Monique, you have an interesting position. You are a costume supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
You've done a tremendous amount of television and a tremendous amount of film work, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Here's the one I'm going to name. Kevin probably Saves the World. Kevin probably Saves the World. One of my favorite. My husband and I used to watch it all the time. And you also have done Devious Maids and, a slew.
Yeah.
Name some.
The Game.
The Game, yes.
Let's Stay Together. Let's see. Cobra Kai, which is on Netflix right now, season 2. Right now, I am actually doing a film called Cop Shop. It's an action movie. I love action movies. I did another action movie with the same group called Boss Level, starring Frank Grillo. Super fun.
Super fun.
Yeah.
You do a lot of different kinds of television and film. You really don't stick to one particular arena.
I don't have a genre. I don't have I do both television and film. I've done action. I've done sitcom type stuff. Tyler Perry's just a whole genre in and of itself. I've done, what else have I done? I've done kind of horror with Vampire Diaries. I was a costumer on that. So yeah, I kind of just move all over the place. I'm a person who kind of lets the universe guide me.
Well, you know, people love interesting fields of industry and interesting fields within this film thing. But you have this beautiful marriage between film, television, and fashion. Mm-hmm. Because costuming is all about fashion, but directed towards the exact project that you're working on.
Exactly.
Talk to us about how this all began. You've been in Atlanta, what now, 18 years or so?
About 17, 18 years,
yeah.
I came here from New York. I was living in Harlem before I came here. I was never a fashion girl. It's surprising now, when I look at myself.
Exactly,
and I'm
now
just
you're
wow,
okay, I can do this.
But I was telling the designer that I'm working with now that I learned so much from every designer I work with, So one of the big things I learned was that your clothes kind of speak for you. So when we're doing costuming, the clothing is like another character. And so it has to say something when a character comes into the room. Otherwise, why are you putting it on?
Exactly.
The clothes have to kind of tell who the character is before the character even opens up their mouth. And so, that's kind of one of the things that I took for myself. Because before I was into this, I would just, put on whatever's comfortable.
Right.
I was that girl. I wasn't a fashion girl. I didn't do a whole lot of heels and all that stuff. And then, just learning from different designers about, making a statement when you step into the room and being a presence and not, shrinking into the walls. That's such a big thing. So, yeah.
You've made fashion tell its own story for your characters. And I love what you said about, going into the wall. You just can't do that anymore.
No.
You've got to have a place in this whole system, in this atmosphere.
I was listening to an interview with Maya Angelou, and she was like, she has no modesty. She was like, there's no place for modesty. As a Black woman, you have to be able to make a statement. You have to step into the room. You have to let people feel the impact of your presence.
When you are dealing with fashion on film and costuming, and you want that fashion to give the presence of the character, how do you keep it from being too loud? In other words, the look coming further than the character is supposed to go.
No, that's great. That's a great point, because I think that's the difference between a costume designer and a stylist. A stylist creates a moment because of the clothes.
Right.
As a costume designer, you have to enhance the moment with the clothes, right? So you have to understand the purpose, what the character is there to do, what the action is going to be happening with their clothes. You don't want to put somebody in something, in a $3,000 ball gown, knowing that they're going to be running through a field and falling in mud and all that stuff. So you have to consider exactly what the character is going to be going through, what their socioeconomic status is. You also have to consider the other characters in the room. You don't want to clash colors. You have to...
And even with the backgrounds.
Yes.
And the room itself.
Absolutely. You have to look at the walls. You have to, so many things to consider. So when you're picking out the clothing for a character, we have to read the script so many times. And then we have to talk to, it's very collaborative. Like, you can't make a film by yourself, right? So it's super collaborative. You have to talk to the set designer and find out, well, what are you doing with the walls? You have to talk to the director, of course, and find out, well, what's the character's motivation? Where are they going with this? What's going to happen to the clothes? I think one of the big things when people tell me, oh, I want to work in this, I want to do fashion, I want to be a shopper, for example. You know, you also have to understand that when you're going out to buy things, you have to keep in mind, okay, this piece is fantastic. I think this will work for the character, right? I'll give you an example. I was on a show, True Fiction, and there was a character, and so the shopper went out and bought this scarf for this character. The scarf was amazing. It was beautiful. The designer was like, I love it. And took it to all, director. Everybody was so happy. Everybody loved it. But it was like basically a one of a kind. We couldn't get multiples of this. And the story called for like a whole lot of action. You know, things had to get wet. Things had to get bloody, you know, like. And so now we're stuck because we have this scarf that everybody loves and everybody chose, but now we can't get more. So, you know, at that point, it was a problem because then we had to figure out how can we recreate the scarf. So, you know, I had to then take pictures and send it and get more fabric made.
Oh my
in order
goodness.
To get this. And yeah, and it took a long time. It cost a lot of money, you know, and so those kind of things that you have to keep in mind, you know. So that just comes with the experience of the job. But there's a lot of people who just say, I want to shop, I want to be a buyer, and all they see is the fun stuff. You get to go to the stores with credit cards and buy all this stuff.
They see that supposed glamour
of
it
but
all.
you don't see like all the things that come behind that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time. And what I want to get into next is a lot of who you are as a person really is invested in each and every project that you do.
Yeah.
So we're going to come back in just a minute because Monique's got so many different projects that she's worked on. So there's so many different parts of this to unpack. We'll be back in a minute. Hang with us.
I don't remember how it started. Our back and forth. Victory. Fumble. Repeat. It always came back.
Okay, here we go, throw it! Yeah.
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Nice.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
When I was growing up, my mom was extremely tidy. We were trained to put things back where we got them from. One day, when I walked into my mom's house, I felt like I walked to someone else's house. There was stuff everywhere. And just growing up the way I grew up and to see this transition was very alarming.
When Sean talked to me, it was a wake-up call, and that's when I went to the doctor.
There was a time in my life where I was extremely homesick. I decided that I needed a pet. When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. He jumped up and kissed me and like jumped right into my arms. I immediately went up to the volunteers at the shelter and said, I want him, like he's gotta come home with me. Now I'm anything but lonely. Every day with Turtle is a perfect day and keeps me company when I'm doing schoolwork. I like it when he jumps up on the table too. He is a veggie thief. He's an incredible companion and my best friend. Can't say that I've met anybody that doesn't love him too. When I adopted Turtle, I discovered all the things that make him unique. He's a little bit of a lot of things, but mostly he's all pure love.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. Yeah. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
And our guest is Monique Younger. Monique has done so many wonderful things, but what we've been talking about is really unpacking the job of a costume supervisor. You really have so much to think about when you're looking at the script for the first time and then all the layers thereafter.
Yes.
What is the hardest part of your job?
Managing the people, I think, is the hardest part, you know, because there's so many different personalities that you have to deal with. So I have to deal with my crew and then any kind of interpersonal issues that they have with each other. Then also their personal schedules, because, you know, everybody's life isn't like I can spend this amount of time focused on a job. You know, sometimes doctor's appointments happen, real life happens.
Yes.
You know, people get sick, you know, all those kind of things. So it's like, you know, how do we navigate that? And then on top of that, having to deal with other departments, because like I said before, you know, you don't make films on your own, right? So you have to figure out how do you deal with handling the stunt guys, and then handling, you know, getting the information from set deck about what needs to happen, and then talking to the producers about, well, we need this and we need this much time, and you know, they have other considerations too. So my department is not the only department that they have to worry about, but that's the only thing I need to worry about.
Exactly, because you've got to stay focused on your department, your team, and then also the actors that you're dealing with and how they're going to respond to everything. You know, one of the things that I recognize in many of our conversations is that it's you're not in a vacuum. When you get with that actor, you really have to consider not only what they're wearing, but where their mindset is, and if they're running lines in their head and all of that. Talk to us about that.
So that's kind of a difficult one. So I'm going to step back to CPS again. When I was at Tyler Perry, we moved fast.
Very fast.
I mean, I have never seen anything like that. Like when I was leaving there and coming over to this action film, I was like, oh, I'm going, you know, to a film where we shoot like 5-6 pages a day, maybe 7 at the most, maybe 7. And at Tyler Perry, we were shooting 130 pages a day. 130 pages a day, especially when we were in quarantine. We were doing we were pushing to the wall, 130 pages. We were just, you know, flying through. And you know how he does a lot of drama, a lot of action, a lot of things are happening. And those actors have very little time to get into character. So, you know, if they're focusing on trying to, you know, be ready for this rape scene or be ready for this, somebody died and, you know, being dramatic, whatever, they're not always going to be super pleasant with you. You know, and it's nothing personal. And I tell all I tell all my costumers, my set crew, I'm like, listen, you know, sometimes people are going to be short. You're not going to like it. I had a PA who wanted to move up to set costumer. I was like, I really don't think that you want to do that because you are very sensitive.
And you're not ready for
like,
the reality of it.
Yeah, because, you know, you're upset and crying now because you think somebody's being harsh to you. Imagine when you're on set and the AD is like, I don't have time for you in this. Let's go. And then are you gonna cry or are you gonna get the job done? Like, we don't have time. Like Tom Hanks said, there's no crying in baseball. There is no crying in movies. We don't have time for it. You can't be sensitive. You kind of just gotta let stuff roll off your back because somebody will be short with you right now, and then a little while later, you know, they act like nothing happened. Maybe they don't even remember what happened, and that's because they probably don't. Like, we're moving so fast, and they got to be in the mindset of their character, or the DP's got to be in the mindset of, what do I need to shoot? How do I need to set this shot up? I don't have time to talk to you about anything. So,
it is a massive, it could be a train wreck if one thing goes off.
Right.
And we've talked about that many times, that one thing that drops off can tear up the whole day.
The whole thing, yeah. And so my job is more about making sure everybody's prepared. I have to look down the road. Like that's everything. My job hinges on me being able to look down the road. So I've got to see what's coming tomorrow, what's coming next week, what's coming the week after. Be prepared. Like, oh, we're going to need this, so let me order it today.
Right.
Oh, I'm going to need this guy in for a fitting. Let me do it sooner than later.
Right.
Let me order these pieces in. Whatever needs to happen, I just need to know in advance.
Who's your most important person when you're putting this together, this whole system together? Who is
Everybody
your
is key.
person?
Honestly, everybody is key. People underestimate how important PAs are.
Yeah.
My PAs are a lifeline. Because when I need something run to set, when I need something picked up from out in the outside world, I depend on them. They're my lifeline. The designer is super important because the designer, he or she, because it could be a man,
yes,
is like the director, right? It's their vision that we have to execute. I'm like the producer. So I do all the logistic work to make sure that their vision is executed.
Right.
And that's how I can define my job. And then everybody else is support to that system.
When you came into this area of costuming, and you came into Atlanta some 18 years ago, Atlanta was a totally different place.
Oh my God. It was like, I was
especially
lucky.
in this industry.
Yeah, I was lucky if I had 1 or 2 shows a year. Like my first job was on ATL with the guy.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah. I come to Atlanta, my first show was ATL. And then after that, I did another movie, which I cannot remember the name of, but I think it was a horror movie. But yeah, it was maybe 1 or 2 shows a year. I can't even believe that I've been in it this long. Like, honestly, because I did not know anything about a costume supervisor. I had no idea what this job was. Most of you probably don't know what this job is.
But how in the world you go from knowing nothing about it to your name is on everyone's lips. I'm going to tell you, as I'm out there listening, and when I hear about a project, I always ask, who's the costumer? And the name is always Monique Younger.
Well, so I think one of the big things, even when I was on ATL back in the day when I first started this, what was really important is that I came in and I focused on the job. Like, I didn't let other things distract me, who the celebrities were we working with. I mean, I graduated from Howard. I was around celebrities all the time. So I wasn't starstruck. I did a lot of music videos back in New York and everything. I had a whole career before I came here. I was working at ESPN. I'd worked at CBS. So, I was a little bit more grown than a lot of the other people that I worked with. So when I came in, I wasn't distracted by the glitz and the glamour of we're working in film. It was just about, let's get the work done. And so people would see that and they would just continually hire me because
that is it. Let's get the work done. It's not about the glitz and the glamour. Okay, we're going to hold right there. We're going to be back in just a moment because when we come back, we're going to unpack the glitz and the glamour and the fallacy of all of that. We'll be back in a minute.
It doesn't matter how you say it, as long as you say it often. Praise your child at least 4 times for every time you correct them, and you'll be on your way to raising a confident, caring kid. 4-to-1 praise is just one of the many parenting tools from the experts at Boys Town. Visit boystown.org/praise to receive your 10 Ways to Praise magnet. It's a great reminder to keep it positive, and that helpful parenting advice is just a click away.
First, they said cigarettes were safe. Now, they say they didn't market e-cigarettes to teens. Fact. More than 1 in 4 high school students are vaping. Same lies, different day. Tell Big Vape to quit lying.
A lot of people say, when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, it's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have to stop everything and take it in. I looked at everything in a different light. And I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. If you could see you through my eyes instead of your ego, I believe you'd be surprised to see that you've been blind. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Yeah, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Okay, so I'm with Monique Younger, and we've gotten to that place, you guys. Okay, she's really unpacking the fact that the glitz and the glamour, not so much. So where is the real work? I love it when I see a new person come into this field, and they sparkles in their eyes, and then they meet the real deal.
It gets real when you have a 5 a.m. call. Like, it gets real.
Yes, it does.
You know, so you got to understand that, like, when you have a 5 or a 5:15 call, it's like you have to have already been there. You know, don't come in at 5 o'clock and then want to put your bags down and now you want to go try and find some coffee and whatever because you're tired and all. No, we all tired. Transpo been there since like 3:30 because they had to set up the whole base camp.
Right.
They don't want to hear you whining about I'm tired or whatever. No, you got to get moving. The actor's going to be showing up soon. So you got to be there early to be on time. You go, you have your coffee, your breakfast, and everything before.
Yes.
And then when that time hits, you got to start running. You got to make sure you have all your call sheets. You got to make sure that you have all the pieces to the costume. You got to start prepping stuff. And you get the steamer out, and you get your steaming burns because every costumer's had it.
Yes.
You're trying to steam some clothes. You get up under there trying to get it, and then all of a sudden you get that 3rd-degree burn on your hand. It happens every single time.
And you don't get to stop. You get to wrap it, spray it, wrap it, and
you might not even get to do that.
Yeah,
like maybe after you finish setting the room, then maybe you get to take care of the burn. But
that's
no,
right. You gotta keep it going.
You got to keep it going. And, you know, people come there, they'll come looking cute. It's nothing wrong with being cute for work and everything, but don't be too cute that you can't get dirty, that you can't get down on your knees, that you can't. People need to understand, like, okay, we have to help actors put shoes on and that kind of stuff. Now with COVID, that a little bit of that changed, but like. You know, it's like you're down on your knees, you're helping people put their shoes on. At the end of the day, you're collecting their clothes. You know? So you're like that nursemaid, you're like
all of that.
The real maid where you're picking up people's dirty clothes and everything, you're doing the laundry, you know, it's a whole lot of stuff together. It's not a clean job, you know. Don't wear your good sneakers because you're going to get run over by a Z-Rack, you know. I have bruises right now from cutting my hand, from getting pinched in something, you know, so nails get broke all the time.
I got to roll to this real quick, and as I know I only have a couple minutes, but there's a big difference from what you are doing right now, the projects that you're working on right now, and a day in the life at Tyler Perry Studios. So you said you did 130 pages in a day. And now on a project that you're working,
I do about Right now we've been doing like between 5 and 7 pages a day.
Okay, here's the hard question. Which one would you rather do?
That is a hard question.
That is a hard one.
I loved the people I worked with, Tyler Perry. I mean, the atmosphere,
the community.
It really is family, you know, like because we spend so much time together and we have to be a little bit patient with each other because, you know, he's pushing us to move harder, faster, whatever. You could burn out like that. So I can't take it for a long amount of time. It's small doses. And what I'm working on now, because it moves a little bit slower, just because it's 7 pages, don't think that it's like super slow. It's not. Like there's a whole lot of stuff that happens. It's just that TP does not do second takes.
Right.
You know, he doesn't do coverage and that kind of stuff. He's got 4 cameras rolling all the time. Let's go. But, you know, on these shows, it's like, okay, we got to do it again. And we got to do it from this angle. And we got to turn around. And we got to, you know, all those things that need to happen. But there's still so much action. There's so many things happening. And then now on this show, and it doesn't happen on every show, but I get to like fit the actors and, you know, really get time to get to know them. And then I'm getting multiples because it's a lot of action. And then we have to worry about blood and stunts and all that kind of thing, you know. So a lot of times at TPS, I'm in the office because I'm so focused on, okay, what's going to happen next, because there's just no time to breathe.
You can't stop the train from rolling. It's got to be on point.
That's why I read that. When you get into production, it's like a roller coaster. You know, you get in, you strap in, and then now, like in prep, you're going up that hill, and then the day one is like you're going down that hill, and there's no getting off. There's no time. Once you're in, and you're locked in. That's it. You got to roll with it. Whatever happens, you have to roll with it, and you have to figure out a plan how to get out of it. And I'm a person who I don't like you to come to me with just problems, and I don't go to anybody else with just the problems. Like if there's a problem, all right, let's sit down, let's figure out a solution. I'm going to come to my designer with a problem and the solution. And then if that solution doesn't work, we're going to come with another solution.
We're going to go with another.
But there's no time to just sit down and be like, oh my God, everything is terrible, it's over. Yeah,
you know, it's always a pleasure to talk to you because I get so much of what the real life is for a costume supervisor. So for those of you who thought it was just glitz and glamour and, I can put this great look together for this actor.
Be a stylist.
Be a stylist.
Be a stylist.
You heard it here. Be a stylist. There's so much more to it than you thought. And if you ever wanted to get into this field, make sure that you're ready to be able to put yourself in it all the way. Costume supervisor Monique Younger, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And I know you've got 1,000 other things to do, but this was just so much fun. And we'll see you again real soon because she's always doing something. I have to keep up with it.
So look out for Cop Shop with Frank Grillo and Gerard Butler, which will be coming probably next year in the spring.
Absolute. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Have a great day, you guys. God bless.